What's up everybody, welcome back to the channel. In this video, we're going to be ranking the Mass Effect DLCs. And how I'm doing this is I'm going to be doing a quick overview of the DLC, and I'm doing my rankings pretty much based on my experience with the DLC. Now if you guys got your own opinions on where each of the DLCs should be in the tier list, feel free to put those in the comments below. But let's not waste any time and let's get into this. Now, normally I don't get in front of the camera for YouTube videos these days for long periods of time because I'm not that comfortable in front of it. I'm much more comfortable when I'm streaming. However, for a video like this, I thought it would be a good idea to be on camera and it would be good practice for me. So let's see how this goes. Okay, Citadel, that's definitely God tier. And what I really like about Citadel is the nostalgia factor of the whole thing. You get to hang out with all of your living squad mates, you get to have a huge party with them, and it's just nice having everyone in the same house under the same roof. You know, it's kind of like one last hurrah for the series, and I really enjoyed that. Now, the main story of the DLC, it's pretty good. It's kind of dumb, you know, with the clone Shepard and Maya Brooks' plan to pretty much take over Shepard's life, and everyone's quick to kind of point out that even if you do take the Normandy, you really think you're gonna fool Hackett or Anderson or anyone else associated with the Crucible? Like, it's just not gonna work. And it seemed like Shepard's not even taking that seriously himself. He kind of is, but then he isn't. He knows the clone is dangerous, but it's just kind of lighthearted with how they deal with him, you know? And I think that makes for like really good content, so that's definitely God tier. Firewalker, that one's not really worth playing. And the reason for that is it doesn't really add anything. You might get some credits and some minerals in Mass Effect 2. I don't think it affects anything in Mass Effect 3. But the story is okay. You're pretty much searching for these two scientists, Dr. Casey and Dr. Aloy. Whatever project they were working on goes horribly wrong and ends up with the both of them dead. Dr. Aloy was pretty much selling them out to the collectors. Dr. Casey found out thinking he was indoctrinated, so he took out Aloy and thinking he might be indoctrinated himself, he killed himself. Now whether Dr. Aloy was indoctrinated or not is kind of up in the air. Now he could have been after his interaction with the collectors, but we never really find out. I think the coolest thing about this DLC is Dr. Casey himself. Apparently that was supposed to be Manuel from Mass Effect 1. They don't really ever connect those dots, but you can kind of tell that it's him. Laird the Shadow Broker, God tier. Nothing else to really be said about that one. Maybe a little bit. Liara was edgy as hell in Mass Effect 2. Like, she took a step up the badass ladder, and it was kind of nice seeing that play out. Basically, she was the one who got us back from the collectors. You know, she pretty much saved Shepard from being that human reaper that we saw. So really gotta thank her for that. And it was just awesome. You know, you get the whole Skycar battle and chasing that one Spectre Televisier, and the way Liara was moving was just a little ruthless. She really wanted to rescue her friend Farron, who pretty much took the fall for Liara. He allowed himself to get captured by the Shadow Broker. At least that's how I remember how it goes. And he's pretty much being tortured up in his ship on Hagalaz. So we go and break him out, and we get to meet the broker himself, Ayag. First one you ever see in the series. And after kicking his ass, you know, he went out in a blaze of glory, I guess. But overall, it's just a really good DLC. Omega, we're gonna go with awesome. And Omega it's really good. You get to have Arya as a squad mate, and she's pretty much a freaking tank. Like, Flare is one of the best abilities in the series, and I love slapping it onto my character whether they're biotic or not. It's just really good with dealing with crowd control. And you also get to meet the first female Turian in the series, Nyreen Kandros. And she's a pretty cool character as well. I really like her moral code, I really like her as a leader. It's a shame she ended up dying. But basically what happens is that Arya pretty much lost Omega. She got taken from her by Oleg Petrovsky. And now that Petrovsky had the station, Cerberus has been conducting operations out of the station. And Arya is very pissed about this. She becomes obsessed with revenge, and she's making a lot of mistakes you wouldn't expect her to make. She really wants that man dead. They've been studying with Reaper adjutants, which kind of remind me of Scions, except they move a lot faster. Nyreen is scared shitless of them because she's witnessed the horrors that these adjutants have done on the station, and she pretty much took herself out to make sure these adjutants were gone. And I thought that was probably one of the most badass things I've ever seen. Like, she really went out like a straight G. But then watching Arya pretty much just go into full aggro, just full rage mode, and start taking out Cerberus soldiers, that was pretty cool, even though she would herself get trapped by Petrovsky. So you end up having to free her, and after you deal with the enemies inside Afterlife, you can confront Petrovsky. And depending on how you went about dealing with Arya throughout the DLC, she'll either spare him or she'll kill him. So I think that was a really cool dynamic right there. You can soften Arya, or you can make her more ruthless than she already was. So yeah, Omega is pretty good. Arrival, I'll put that in the good tier. It's kind of in the middle for me. Basically, you're doing a favor for Hackett with this one. You're pretty much rescuing his friend Amanda Kinson from Artot. The Batarians end up capturing her and is holding her in a prison on the planet. So you gotta break in and bail her out. Apparently she learned something about the Reaper's imminent arrival. So you go her to her space station on this meteor that's near the mass relay for the system. And she pretty much shows you this giant Reaper artifact called Object Rho. Now, there's a lot of red flags about this because the artifact is just out in the open, just pulsating away. And that pretty much gave me the idea that they were indoctrinated. And sure enough, they were. One big pulse comes out, knocks us out, and now Kinson drawing a gun on you. So you end up having to fight through them, but they ended up detaining you anyway. And you only have a couple minutes to spare before the Reapers pour through the relay. So you gotta fight through Kinson's people and eventually get to her to keep her from shutting down the asteroid. So after you deal with her, she pretty much blows herself up, by the way. And then you got to escape the space station before it crashes into the mass relay. Now that ends up having some huge ramifications. It's the reason why we're locked up in 3. The Batarians pretty much want our ass, honestly. They want us dead. And so the Alliance pretty much locked us up to keep us away from them and to pretty much keep us from stirring up any more shit. But that didn't last long because the Reapers ended up pouring through anyway. But this ended up saving us some time. And so kind of learning how we ended up in jail in the first place is enough to give this DLC a look at. You know, it's worth playing through. Overlord, we're gonna put that one in the awesome tier. And the only reason why this one ain't God tier to me is because the battle music is a little grating. However, I really do like this DLC. It'll kind of make you mad towards the end, but basically how this one goes is that you arrive at this station on planet IT-AT and you get in contact with this scientist named Gavin Archer. And he pretty much explains that his brother David has pretty much gone out of control. They were experimenting with Geth here, and Gavin realized that David could communicate with the Geth. So what he did is he ended up hooking him to this giant machine. But the problem is that the strain became too much on David's mind, and he ended up taking over the Geth and ended up killing everyone on the station. So now you gotta break into the station that he's at and shut him down. Now what really made me mad about this one is seeing David, and he's pretty much being tortured. Like, look at this man. This man is never gonna be the same again. It pretty much just makes you want to beat the hell out of Gavin for what he did to his brother. But we end up getting him out of there, and we send him to Grissom Academy, and he even ends up helping us out. It was nice to see him again. So I guess that story had a happy ending. Zaid, The Price of Revenge. We're gonna put this one in the enjoyable tier. It's not that good to me, it's kind of flat, but I did like the backstory behind everything. You know, Zaid was one of the ones who created the Blue Suns alongside Vito Santiago. And hearing about how he was betrayed and kicked out, and the reason why he wants revenge so bad, I think that was interesting. But Vito is kind of annoying. He's definitely a coward. And I ended up getting a bit annoyed with Zaid because he was willing to watch these people burn because of something that he started. I'm not sacrificing these people because you want to kill this man so bad. And he ends up getting him later. Well, Harvester ends up getting him, but he got his revenge in the end. He didn't try to save Vito, he just walked away and it was like, Harvester, do what you will with him. Okay, Kasumi Stolen Memories. We're gonna put this one in the good tier. I do like this one. This one is about getting Kasumi's deceased boyfriend Keiji Akuta's gray box back from this weapons merchant named Donovan Hawk. And Hawk pretty much killed Keiji and took the gray box from him, but Keiji, being the master hacker that he is, he pretty much rigged it so that way it's tied to his memories. You either get the information in the memories or neither. So Hawk has been spending all this time trying to get into the gray box while Kasumi has been devising the plan to get it back. So that's what we help her with. We get into Donovan Hawk's party and pretty much the elite of the underground is here. And we break into his vault and steal the gray box. But Hawk was figuring something like this might happen. He thought it was Kasumi at the front door, so that's why he didn't let her in. And so we gotta fight through his underground bunker. And Hawk pretty much has all types of crap under here. Like, there's Eclipse everywhere, he's got mechs. And I'm like, in context, this is really a man that you shouldn't mess with. But we do end up beating him, and Kasumi does get to access Keiji's green box. And so what Keiji does is he tells her to destroy the information. But Kasumi doesn't want to do that because it's tied to his memories. It's the only thing she has left of him. But for her sake, I've started destroying the gray box because otherwise she becomes a recluse with her memories of Keiji. She pretty much stays connected into that thing, and destroying the gray box is just a way to free her. Not to mention, if you destroy the gray box, she manages to get the information anyway. Apparently what was in that gray box was enough to start a war, and once you learn what it was, yeah, that was probably a good reason to destroy that thing. So this DLC is pretty short, but it's got a lot of action to it, and it has a little bit of continuity in Mass Effect 3. So for that, I put it right here. Leviathan. Leviathan is gonna go in the awesome tier. We finally get to learn more about the Reaper's origins. It's all tied back to the Leviathan race. The Star Child is connected to the Leviathan race. And it's kind of the Leviathan's fault why this has been happening every 50,000 years. It was unintentional, but it was their fault. So for the backstory, Hacker directs us to this researcher, Dr. Garrett Bryson. He pretty much had been studying the history of the Reapers himself, and the Leviathan of Dis. Pretty much the original Leviathans were able to kill this Reaper, and so a lot of his research has been about trying to discover where this Leviathan might be. Unfortunately, it ends up getting him killed because he was getting a little too close for the Leviathan's liking. So now it's kind of up to Shepard and EDI to kind of locate where Leviathan might be. Which leads us to this asteroid where Leviathan has pretty much taken control of the entire space station. He's able to use orbs and is able to use those to control people. It's sort of like a proto-indoctrination. And this station is creepy because you know something's wrong. You know they're being controlled by something, and it's kind of like Leviathan has the ability to do this, which makes sense because it's similar to what the Reapers are doing. And it seems like the Reapers have actually perfected it. It also leads you to this desert planet, Namakali, where you have to find Dr. Bryson's daughter, Anne. And she's able to help us find the location of Leviathan. And we eventually get to meet the thing face to face. And I thought this was so cool. Because we don't meet anything like Leviathan in the entire series. Well, maybe except the Thorian, but even this one feels different. You gotta end up convincing Leviathan to join the war instead of hiding in the shadows, because the Reapers were gonna get to it eventually. And then Leviathan shows off a little bit of that power that it has. It was able to control a brute and make it fight the other one. And then they start duking it out, and I thought that was funny. And then he was able to pretty much just shut down a Reaper. Like the thing just crashes into the ocean, and just having the Leviathans as part of your army is just the most awesome thing. So yeah, it's definitely worthy of that awesome ranking. Bring Down the Sky. I'm gonna put this one in the not great but enjoyable tier. It's not really the most interesting DLC, but it does have some good story elements to it. So basically, this asteroid X-57, is heading towards the planet Terra Nova. There are some Batarian terrorists up there who are launching the asteroid into the planet, led by a dude named Balak. Balak is pretty much doing this to help his people. How is this helping his people? I don't know. Maybe there's still some salt that they need to get out. But if you stop him here, that leads to the Batarians accelerating research on the Leviathan of Dis. And what happens is a lot of those scientists and officials get indoctrinated. So when the Reapers arrived, it made the takeover of Karshan that much easier, because those officials disabled all of the security grids. So the Batarians pretty much had no chance. I see the coolest thing about this is that you get a new area to fight in that's actually different than all of the other prefab worlds that you get in Mass Effect 1. So that's cool. But the thing is with Balak is that you have to choose whether to let him go or save Kate Bowman and the other scientists. I choose to save the scientists because Balak is going to be more beneficial to us later than having them dead here. Pinnacle Station is pretty much a giant combat simulator, and your goal here is to pretty much get the high score on every combat scenario there is. Now about halfway through this, you'll run into this Turian asshole Vidinos, who is picking on this other soldier, Lieutenant Brian. He's accusing Brian of cheating because he beat his high score. So now you gotta clear Brian's name by beating all of Vidinos' high score. Now if you do, you get a weapon that could be higher than any other weapon that you could have at that point. So that's pretty cool. And if you beat every challenge, you get to do Ahur's mission based off a real mission that he had. Now the thing about this is that with all the other combat scenarios, you're technically not dying, it's just that the scenario is over. But with Ahur's mission, you can die for real because he turns all the safeties off. So you gotta be careful of that, and that mission is hard, even on normal. But if you manage to complete it, you get Ahur's apartment on the planet nearby, which has some rare stuff for you. But other than that, there's nothing really to gain here. It doesn't really affect anything throughout the series, so it's not really worth playing. Well, that ends this video, guys. What's your own Mass Effect DLC tier list? Let me know in the comments. Feel free to leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Peace.
DJ Sonic 3.